On behalf of the City of Yonkers Parks Department and Untermyer Gardens, welcome to spring here at Untermyer Gardens. It's been a little bit of a wet spring, so we're a little bit behind, but we're getting caught up. All our cool season annuals are in the canals. Our assistant head gardener, Drew Schuyler, has put that in. As I mentioned, we are a little bit behind, but at the same time, we have 10 gardeners this year, so I'm really excited about how much progress we can make this year. But today, instead of talking about plants, I want to talk a bit about our water features, which we're turning all on this week. Our canals here in the walled garden are up and operating. We have some of our aquatic plants that just came out of their winter storage that'll start growing, and we'll start working on that display within the next week or two. But I want to take a moment and go through some of our bigger features and show you just what goes into keeping these things so beautiful through the season. So before we go down and look at the pump room, which is the guts to this whole operation, I wanted to stop at the Persian Pool. You may recall we had Steve Mioto, a master mosaicist, do a video last summer while this installation was happening. I would like to debut this mosaic Persian Pool. It is fabulous. We figured out how to keep it warm through the winter, full of water, so it doesn't freeze and thaw and face the same degradation it did since the last restoration in the 1970s. And now we just got to figure out how to keep it clean, and we're working on that, and so happy to have this feature restored. Speaking of restoration, the Medusa mosaic at the Temple of the Sky was just removed. The foundation is going to be worked on, and we hope to have that reinstalled and restored by mid to late June. But let's go take a look in the pump room and see what's going on down there. So as head gardener, you'd think all I would have to worry about at Untermyer is the garden and the plants, but with all these water features, and the more complicated they get, I've had to sort of go to school on plumbing and electricity to some degree. We have had a lot of help. All our water features have been designed and installed by Glencar Water Gardens, with Kevin Cotter leading the way. Has become a real asset to everything we do here at Untermyer. But if you look, this gray pipe is all the plumbing for the canals. And while that seemed somewhat complicated, it now is really simple compared to everything we've had to do to supply the Persian Pool. So we have 4 filter baskets and a 5th one by the pump. We have 2 heaters. When we first started trying to keep the water warm through the winter, 1 heater was not enough. So we had to replumb everything for the 2 heaters with the help of Glencar. There's a big sand filter and all different lines to run things different directions. We have a bromine injector so we can keep the pool free of algae. So just the amount of electric and plumbing down here takes a good couple hours every week to keep up and running. And certainly an area of the garden that nobody gets to see, so a real behind the scenes look. I'm actually standing in a bunker below the lower loggia of our lower terrace near the hydrangea border. And so now we're going to go look at the Temple of Love and see exactly how it's set up for its water, which is just now getting filled up as we speak. So now we've moved over to the Temple of Love. I'm underneath the bench and rose pergola that you can look at the whole waterfall from. And while this room is much smaller, in much ways it's much more complicated than the walled garden pump room, which we just left. That room had 2 pumps, one for the Persian Pool and one for the canals. For the Temple of Love and Rock and Stream Garden, we actually have 5 pumps down here. 1 to run the rock and stream, 2 to run the waterfalls, and 2 for a bog pump as well. We have 2 natural bogs, which I'll show you here in a moment. We also have another big media filter as well. The floor's a little bit wet because, again, Glencar was just here getting everything ready to go for the season. And we're about to throw the switch by the end of the day and have water running through the Temple of Love. So I'm standing here in the Temple of Love cascade, which will be running by the end of the day, certainly by the weekend. So please come and visit and see all the water features we have running. All those pumps I just mentioned, kind of interestingly, Glencar designed and installed a natural bog filter, which is the raised pool just above this lower catch basin. The water perks through there and naturally filters through the plants we planted and through the stone that we have put in there. There's also another bog filter up at the big catch basin, which we're filling with water as we speak. So again, come see the water features this weekend. The daffodils are still in very strong performance, willing to look at those. The cherries and the magnolias are happening. We just have all our cool season crops, including our vegetables in the ground. So this would be a really good weekend to come see spring in the garden. Thanks so much.